I have heard from many that they're having trouble getting into the session. So I am going to click that now. This will be posted about a half an hour after tonight's session because it takes about a half an hour to process. Okay, so who's W04107776? Let us know. And while you have a moment, check, just click on the little, I guess it's a pen, up in the right-hand corner on the PowerPoint slide, and choose from that the A type icon, and you can put your name beside the emoticon that is you. Hi, Nicholas. Great. I'm glad you can hear us. So it looks like everybody can hear me. Great. That's awesome. And you can put your name beside the mood check. Which one describes how you are feeling at this moment? Zach, you should be able to see on your screen a slide that says mood check. And there are little funny emoticons. Oh, Mackenzie, you can't, Zach can't see it, Mackenzie can't see it.
I can't see the pen.
Oh, the pen!
Yeah.
Oops. Let me see, maybe that's something that I need to do. If you go to the top right, just put your mouse over the top right. I'm thinking, let me see if I can grab. Usually, oh, there's my grabber. So there's me, and it should be somewhere up in the top right. There should be a little pen that comes up.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
there's nothing of the sort.
Oh, that's strange.
That might just be a presenter ability, because we're attendees and you're a presenter, so I think that's what's going on.
Oh, that's strange, because normally in the past I'm able to do that. Just a moment. Let me see if I can change that. Manage. No. Thanks for your patience, guys. I've only been doing this for 6 years. And this is the first time that the pen hasn't shown up. Oh, my goodness. Well, how about this? How about a mood check? Just tell me in the chat function, which one are you? And have fun describing which emoticon you are. Actually, if you go in the chat function, there's a little face. If you click on the little face, yeah, there's one.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
And that was
very good.
Nicholas, right?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So, Nicholas, you're feeling pretty good?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So there's lots of emoticons you can pick from. There's even a little guy that's barfing if you're really feeling nervous. Melissa's feeling good. So this is actually a combined session of all 3 sections of math. So thank you so much for coming out tonight and welcome. Mackenzie, that's a scary one. Zach, do you have an attention span of a squirrel?
Seems so.
Very good. I am recording tonight because, again, these Skype sessions are not mandatory, and as we move forward, they will be on a as-needed basis. I find that I've been doing Math 1046 now for 6 years. I also teach the Chem 1046, and I have dabbled in bio and also in health math. And what I find is that there is so much to cover in Math 1046 and at different speeds that you'll find that everybody will branch off and do their own thing. So in terms of the Skype session, if I feel that we need to come together as a class, I will post that we're going to have one. But otherwise, what I suggest is that if you need to come in and we can use this whiteboard just like a whiteboard in a classroom and go over something, we can do that just as a one-on-one tutoring basis. So if you ever feel that you'd like to come in and talk over some questions, just send me an email or a text or give me a phone call and let me know, and we can set it up that way. Otherwise, I'll just take the cue from the different sections, and then I'm happy to do an all-class one as well. So we'll just play it by ear as we go along, as everybody gets a good feel for the course. Before I begin talking about Math 1046, I'm just going to go over a little bit about the refresher unit and then what to expect for Unit 1. Do any of you have any questions, just general questions that you want to put out there before I begin? You can grab your mic, or you can type in the chat function, whatever you're comfortable with. And if you don't have any questions, maybe click on that smiley face in the chat function and give me a thumbs up or a smiley to say that you are okay.
I got a quick question.
Yeah, for sure. Go right ahead.
So you said that it wasn't marked. Is it mandatory to complete though, or?
For the refresher unit, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only thing you need to complete is that final placement evaluation, the one that only has one attempt, but it's not for mark, so I'm not going to be taking that mark and putting it into D2L. And it's just to get a baseline, just so that we know where you started. It's a decision point, like you can look at that and kind of do a gut check. Am I ready for the course? Am I not? If I'm not, I've got to, maybe find more time in my week to study. Maybe I'm going to get a tutor. Maybe I'm going to set up a Skype appointment, with Lori whenever I need help, that sort of a thing. But the only thing you need to do is that placement evaluation, that last one. That's the only one that we ask you to do. Yeah.
And that closes on the end of the due date. You can't do that afterwards?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once it closes, then we just assume that you're barreling forward and you're going to go into the number theory unit and not look back, and that's fine too.
All right, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I do have a quick question about Skype.
Yeah, for sure, Nicholas.
Why is it that everybody else's names popped up, but mine stuck as a number?
I do not know. This is the first time I've seen it as a number. It might be how you signed in. So some of us sign in maybe with our own personal Skype accounts. Some of us do it through Skype Business. There's different ways in which you can Skype in. I'm not sure why it looks like you came in as an NSCC college student, which is perfect.
Yes, I did.
Yes, which is great. So I'm not sure why the first time I've ever seen it come up with just a W number, but nothing to worry about. If it happens again, just put in the chat that, hey, this is Nicholas, so we know it's you.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, nothing to worry about. Just some weird idiosyncrasy of Skype that happens. Just like I don't understand why you can't pick the pen tonight. That's new too. So must be something with a new update I'll have to figure out. Okay, well, if everybody's okay, Mackenzie, you seem to be the one with the anxious facey. Do you have any questions before you begin, or hopefully I can alleviate some of the stress you're feeling?
Not really. It's
No.
just the whole DTL2 system is just confusing as hell, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still learning my way around there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and that's completely normal. And I think that if we had everybody in the room, I think you would see over 75% that are like, yeah, we hear you. It throws a lot of information at you at once. I designed the Math 1046 course, and I have trouble trying to figure out how much information to kind of feed you guys. And that's the news feed. So the news feed I try and guide you.
The issue is that the information is just all over the place on the website. It's hard to find down that one specific piece of information I need when I have like 5 other paths to go down to find other valuable information.
I totally agree. Yeah. if you are looking for something that you know you've seen before and you can't find it, just send me a quick text and I'll get you on the right direction. And I promise within 2 weeks you'll feel a lot more comfortable navigating in D2L. Is this the only course you're taking?
No, I'm also taking physics 1046 as well.
And that's going to, what you remember in physics is going to mess you up in math and vice versa. But in 2 weeks, you'll have a much better handle of D2L. And in the meantime, just be patient. It will come, and just, reach out to me. And do you have Cynthia Dunning-Zwicker for physics?
I do.
Dr.
Cynthia,
Zwicker?
what? No, it's not.
Oh.
Her first name's Cynthia, though. But her last name is Burgundy.
Oh, okay. I don't know her, but I bet you can also just reach out to her too, and she'll be able to put you in the right direction. For me, I've been getting lots
Budgie. Sorry,
Cynthia. Budgie. Oh, Cynthia
Budgie.
Budgie. Yes, I know Cynthia. She's great. So what I would say, for me, I love texts. They're really quick. As long as I'm not driving or in a dead zone, I get back pretty quickly. So feel free to text me. Emails come through my cell phone really, really quick as well. So just be patient the first 2 weeks with yourself. It will come. You'll see that we deal there's a lot of tabs at the top, and you'll be going between the course homepage and the content. That's going to be the two tabs that you're going to be working out of the most. And of course, Mymathlab. What I'll say about Mymathlab, has everybody got into Mymathlab here so far, or has anyone not yet, maybe?
No, I haven't. I haven't been able to get into it.
Oh, Nicholas, so you haven't been able to get into it. Okay.
And I haven't tried it yet.
Is that the Pearson's link?
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, the Pearson.
I've gotten into that.
Okay, perfect. So if you're into there, that's another learning management system like D2L. So that's also another learning curve, because of course it's set up completely different. Just for that one, that's going to be your practice assignment, your homework assignments that we don't have right now. There's just the practice stuff for refresher, and you kind of pick and choose to do what you want. You don't have to do any of them if you don't want to. Just that placement assessment that we talked about. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming at you. For Zach and for Nicholas, if you're having trouble getting into the Pearson link, the number one problem is that the browser is blocking the window from coming up. So you click on it.
I dealt with that.
Yeah, and nothing happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had the same issue. What I found a solution was simply just, when it does block something, I try to open up the window afterwards. If you just say always allow pop-ups from this site, it will work at that point.
Yes.
I was gonna say I got into it. I just didn't go through it at all. So I have access now, but I just haven't gone through any of the content.
Access is number one, so that's great.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If nothing happens when you click on it, it's probably that your pop-ups are being blocked. So as Mackenzie says, just click on it again until you get that message. Do you want to allow pop-ups? And say yes. If you don't get that message, the other thing that I found that works is if you go up to the browser address window and right-click on that, that forces it to open up the security dialog, and then you can give it permission to open up the pop-up. But if you can't, and this is to everyone that's watching the video, if you've tried all that and it's still not working, text me or email me and I will help you walk through that. Worst comes to worst, if I can't solve it, Pearson has a great support site, and they can work through that problem as well. I have never had anybody that had to leave 1046 because they couldn't get Pearson to work. It just means that at the beginning up front we have to problem solve a little bit, but it will work once we figure out the system. So many people have different systems between Macs and Microsoft and what have you, that sometimes there's a few glitches, but with a little bit of patience we can work through that. Okay, anybody else have some concerns or questions? I'm going to pique your interest, or maybe get you to think of other questions as I go through what I have to present tonight. But does anybody else have any other questions or concerns they want to bring up now?
I do.
Yeah.
when I'm doing like my workouts and everything with like the practice that you have,
Yeah.
do we have to sign up to the ED puzzle thing as well to
Oh,
record stuff?
yes. So sometimes when you click on one of the videos in D2L, it comes up with ED puzzle or Ed puzzle, and
Yeah.
it will be in guest mode. Just stay in guest mode. You don't have to sign up for anything. So in guest mode, what those Ed puzzles are, it's an interactive video that I've made. So I've brought in one of the videos into Ed puzzle, and then at certain parts in the video, it will stop and ask you a question, and then you answer it. And if you answer it correctly, they'll say yay, and if you answer it wrong, they'll tell you why, and then you get to move on in the video. So just leave it in guest mode, and then follow through with the questions. There's very few videos that are like that because they take a little bit extra to make. It's something that we're playing with, but yeah, just stay in guest mode. Don't get in an account. You don't need one. And none of the marks from the Ed puzzles go towards your mark either. It's just an added interactive feature. Does that sound okay, Nicholas?
Yep, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So far, so good. Matthew, do you have a question? I see your microphone going.
Yeah, none yet.
No, not yet. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. So,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see anything as for presentation-wise. I just see a screen that says, "Welcome to Math1046."
Yep.
I just logged on. I had trouble getting it working.
No, that's all we see as well. You're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. So let me get started with the presentation. So tonight, as I said, I'm just going to touch a little bit on the refresher unit, and then I'm going to give you the intro to the number theory, which we're going to start on Monday. So we have now and into the weekend to get warmed up with the foundational math skills, and then come Monday, everyone who has decided to stay in the course, we're going to start with Unit 1, number theory. So before we talk about that, does everybody see I just put up a statement refresher unit check-in? Just to make sure that my PowerPoint's working okay? Okay,
Yep.
Great. So we've already talked a little bit about the refresher unit. Awesome, Melissa and Mackenzie can see that too. That's awesome. So I'm watching the chat room as well. So if you have any questions and you want to type there, go ahead or grab the mic. It's all good. So we talked about the refresher unit a little. Basically, the overview with the refresher unit is that there is only one thing that is mandatory, and that is that you do that final placement evaluation that only has one attempt. The mark is not going to be transferred to D2L. It's just a baseline so that we can see where you're at before you begin. It's also a decision point for you, and that's an individual thing, and you can decide whether you want to stay in the course or whether you want to change to Math 1043 and have a little bit more time to get warmed up and to go over those basic skills that are going to help you in, not basic, I'm sorry, foundational skills that are going to help you in Math 1046. If you don't meet that 80%, you're going to want to think about how you can maybe add more study time into your week, and maybe looking at getting a tutor. There are tutors available at many of the NSCC campuses, so depending on where you are, you might want to check in with student services at your campus. You guys are full-fledged students, so you have access to all the amenities that are at an NSCC campus. So if you want to go and use the gym, you can go and use the gym. Just because you're an online student doesn't mean that you are an NSC student. So feel free to go on campus and take advantage of the library, take advantage of the gym, take advantage of the campus cafeteria if you like. All of those things are open to you as a student, so feel free to do that. And many campuses offer tutoring services, so please feel free to go in and ask about that sort of a thing. So that's the sort of thing that we're doing this week, is just having a personal check-in. Where am I in math? What am I going to need in order to succeed? Am I in the right spot? So I had a student that is looking at going into the LPN program in September, and they decided that they were going to move to health math, 1048, 1049. So that's the sort of personal individual check-in that I'm asking everybody to do. So with that in mind, in terms of the other stuff that you have access to in the refresher unit, it's totally up to you how deep a dive you want to go in, how much practice you want to go in. If the only thing you do in this unit is the placement evaluation, that's fine too. That's totally up to you. And then we're going to wrap up the refresher unit for Monday, and then everyone's going to start with the number theory unit. And no marks, except for the introduction discussion. I do give marks for that, which is basically if you post your introduction about yourself and you reply to a classmate, you're going to get full marks for it. So if you haven't done that yet, I know it's after the Wednesday deadline, but I'm very flexible this week because we're getting lots of new enrollees in too. So feel free to do that now if you haven't done that yet. Nicholas, I see you have a question. Go right ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering, because you had given us those 4 assignments, the to-do list and
Yes.
The answering to people one. How do we know if if those are submitted? Because I've just done them, but I didn't press any submit button or anything.
Yeah, the only one that you can kind of, well, the to-do list, you'll have a little check mark beside the to-do list in the D2L unit that will tell you that you've gone through those things. And in terms of whether you, and actually I'm not going to go in and look to see that everybody has check marks for then. It's up to you to go through that. In terms of that welcome discussion, if you were to go into that now, you could click on it, and then you should be able to see your post that you've posted there. I haven't marked it yet, so there won't be any, you wouldn't have received a message saying that I've marked it, but when I do mark it, you will get a message to say that you have a new mark available to you.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks.
Good. You're welcome. Okay, so from here, I want to just talk about course expectations. So these expectations that I'm about to talk about are in the course outline that is that's posted in the welcome unit. So feel free to go into that, and you can have a look at that anytime you want. But I wanted to just bring your attention to how we evaluate in this math course. So as I said, the refresher unit, none of the marks except for the introduction discussion from the welcome unit are going to be for marks. Whoops. There we go. But let me grab my pen. There we go. So out of 100%, your homework assignments in Mymathlab are worth 15%. And we don't have any of those in the refresher unit, but when we move into Unit 1, you'll see that you'll have one MyMath assignment per section in the textbook. And those are worth 15%, and you can do questions as often as you like. So there's infinite attempts until the deadline for your homework assignments. And I have had many students in the past who get 100% on all their homework in Mymathlab. So it's nothing to be worried about. It's an easy mark, and it's up to you how many times that you want to work on a question to get up to that 100%. You don't need 100%. Don't feel pressured for that. But this is just more of getting rewarded for the practice that you do. In D2L, there will be Dropbox assignments, and what a Dropbox assignment is, it's a written assignment that you do on pencil and paper, or in Word, whatever you like. You take a picture of it with your with your phone, and then submit the assignment into the Dropbox. Or you do it up in a Word document on your computer, and then you submit that file as a Dropbox assignment. Now, when the time comes to do a Dropbox assignment, I will give you further instructions in the news feed, so you don't have to worry about being able to submit now. But just so you know that we do have a couple of Dropbox assignments over the course, over the next 14 weeks. I think there's 2. And then those discussion assignments that I talked about, there is one in the Unit 1. So you're going to post a thread in Unit 1 for a discussion assignment. Altogether, those discussion assignments and Dropbox assignments are worth 5%. And then a couple of times during the course, I'm going to ask you to write a short reflection discussion where you're just going to check in and tell us what you've learned, what challenges you've had, and such. And that's also posed as a discussion assignment. I believe the first one is in Unit 2, and then there's a final reflection as well. So that's worth 5%. And then every unit, starting in the number theory unit, there is a pre-test before the test, and that's worth 25%. It is in Mymathlab. You get 2 attempts at that pre-test, and you get to take your best mark. So, so we're hoping that lowers everybody's stress level. And the purpose of the pre-test is to give you an idea of what the test is going to be like. And the pre-test is going to have similar questions that you're going to see on the test. Sometimes they're posed a little bit differently, but they cover the same outcomes. The pre-test you do at home, you can review the pre-test after you write the first attempt, and then brush up on some of your skills, and then you can go back and write it again, and you take your best mark. Now, you don't have to do 2 attempts. If you are happy with your first attempt mark and you don't want to go and do a second attempt, that's great. We just take your first mark. But if you do 2 attempts, we'll always take your best mark, and you can review your pretest after you write it to see where you went wrong. The pretest data regenerates every time, so you won't get the exact same data when you rewrite, but the questions stay the same. So what we're testing you on stays the same. The quizzes are sometimes a little bit longer than the tests. We try and keep the test between 20 and 25 questions, and sometimes we give a little bit more questions in the quiz just for added practice, but it's around the 25 to 30 question mark as well. So all the pre-tests are done at home. You have your book there with you, you have your notes, you have your calculator and your scrap paper. In terms of the tests, we have 5 units, 3 of which are proctored, so that means that if you are in province, you go to your campus of choice, whichever one you want to go to write your test, and you do it there in a testing center. And I'm going to give a little bit more information next week on what to expect at the testing center. If you are out of province, and we do have students that are out of province, you'll have to get an external proctor, which is somebody that will supervise you during your test. Has to be somebody who's not a family member or a friend and is professional, so that their profession, there's integrity rules around that. In the past, students have used librarians, have used high school teachers, clergy, someone who is willing to supervise you for those 2 hours, who can vouch for your identity, and will also make sure that you follow the rules, which during proctored tests are the following. You are allowed a calculator. You are allowed as much scrap paper and pencils as you need. You are allowed a 1-page cheat sheet that is made by you. Both sides can be used, and you can put anything on that cheat sheet you like, and you're allowed to use that during the test. Calculators are permitted. It's in Mymathlab, but you are not allowed to access any other website or device. So you cannot use your cell phone or a textbook or other notes. And that's 3 out of the 5 proctored tests. The other 2 tests are take at home, so you can just take it in the comfort of your own home. And for those 2, you're allowed you're going to have whatever you have with you, so your textbook, your notes, what have you. The tests are 2-hour time limit, so after the end of the 2 hours, Mymathlab just closes, and you can't go any further. But we try and keep it so that you have an hour to do the test and an hour to do any revisions that you want. So there's going to be a lot of time available for those tests. So don't feel that we're going to be really pushing you to be quick during those tests. That's a lot of information that I just went through. Any questions about what I've talked about so far?
If you end up getting a proctor.
Yes. Oh, no, go ahead, Zachary. Or is that Matthew?
If you end up getting
Zachary, yes.
I think it's me and him.
Go ahead, Zach. I think
Go ahead.
Thanks. If you end up getting a proctor, because I'm out of province.
Yes.
Does it matter where you do it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want them to come to your house, if they're okay with that, then that's great, and it's on your own computer. If they would rather you go to their house and you bring your computer, or you do it on their computer, that's fine too. It doesn't matter where you do it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I have the forms and everything, so I'll get them filled out.
Yeah, excellent. And then you just send it to me because I'm the person that's going to approve those.
Okay.
And then what I do is I contact the proctor just to let them know what's expected of them. And it's really, really easy peasy once you find somebody who's willing to do that for you.
Awesome. There's a couple people throughout the base that, like, they aren't my friends. I just know of them, but
Yeah.
I'm going to ask if they're willing to do it.
Yeah, that's great. Supervisors are awesome. Great people to ask. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Matthew, you had a question or comment?
Yeah. So basically, I'm going through the refresher unit right now, and I've run into a few things that I need to brush up on.
Yeah.
Am I able to post in the question and answer page and ask classmates for help if they're willing? And if I can't get the help there, are we able to contact you directly for help?
Oh, yes to all of that. Please post in the Q&A, and if whoever gets to you first will answer your question.
Yeah.
I've had texts already of questions asked, and I'm happy to answer back in the text. The only thing that I'm here to help you. That's my job. Posting in the Q&A is great because you might get a classmate that is great at explaining, and they'll put something up. Sometimes it's nice just to put in the Q&A so that other people go, oh, thank goodness it's not only me who's having trouble with this question, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So text is great, and then I respond back. Sometimes I'll just write on a piece of paper and then take a picture of that and send it back to you. Sometimes I'll send you a video that I've done and send that back to you. Another great.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Another thing that's great, and some students have already used that, is that in Mymathlab, when you're doing any question, the question help tool in the top right hand corner, there's a button there. If you click on that and say ask my instructor, click on that, and then it will send me that exact question that you're working on, which is great because then I get to see exactly what the question is, and then I can respond to you back. So that's another great way to ask questions as well. And I'm going to put a plug in for Khan Academy. I don't get any money for Khan Academy, but man, I love that site. If I could, I would I would work from that, but we can't have student accounts in the United States, and Khan Academy is in the United States. So I can't make you guys use Khan Academy because of that, but I encourage you to go to khanacademy.org because they have a great pre-algebra and pre-calculus subject areas, so you'll be able to find stuff there as well. So I'm just going to do a little post for that. And you'll also find in YouTube that you're going to start to find instructors that you like to watch. There's a lot of me on the videos, but I'm pretty boring. There's a lot of great instructors on YouTube, and if you just put in, simplifying rational expressions or how to do linear equations, whatever you're working on at the time, put that into the YouTube search engine, and there's lots of math instructors doing great things on YouTube. So feel free to do that. Okay, so far. So are we good with the evaluation scheme? Any questions on that?
It looks like Melissa has a question about time of day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. I'll be trying to find a proctor as soon as possible. Also, are tests set to be taken at a specific hour during the day? Thank you, Melissa. That's a great question. So where you find out about your campus testing center, if you're testing within the province, is in D2L, in our course homepage. At the top, where you go to course home and course content, way over to the right, there's NSCC Services tab. Click on that, go down to the testing and proctoring link, and you will link in. From there, you can see testing center contact information and testing center hours. So there you can see when they're testing, and there's daytime testing and nighttime testing, and you can pick which testing center you want to go to. So here in the HRM, we're lucky that we have 3 campuses that we can pick from: IT, Ivany, and Akerley. If you are more rural, you might be stuck with just one campus, but if you're a traveler, you can go to any campus in the province, and you don't have to write on the deadline day. You can write anytime leading up to that. And also, if you've looked at the schedule in the welcome unit, you can see that our deadlines are usually on Friday. And the reasoning for that is that if any student needs a little bit of extra time, like say the weekend, they need a little bit of extra time to finish up, we kind of work in the weekend so that you can have that extra time and then maybe write on Sunday or Monday. The only caveat is that you let me know that you need that extra time. I like to have 24-hour notice, so like a Friday morning or the Thursday night before the deadline, let me know that you need a bit of extra time, and we can work around that. Now, in terms of writing on a campus, they want you to make the appointment a week beforehand, so you'll want to do that. But don't feel hemmed in by that. If come Thursday night, you might have had a kid that has been sick all week and you've gotten behind, feel free to let me know on Thursday night that you need extra time, and we'll work around that so that you can still write your test with a little bit of time extension. So that's okay too. Melissa, does that answer your question okay? And does anybody want to add or ask something about that? No, that's okay, Melissa. Most people don't have mics, so it's great just to type in the chat too. I hate to ask you guys to buy extra stuff if you don't have to.
Where am I?
Go ahead.
Sorry, my mic was off. I forgot my mic was on. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I'm just talking out loud to myself.
No problem at all. Perfect, Melissa. Yep. So the take-home answer to that is that I am flexible around the deadline. So just get in contact with me if anyone needs a little bit of extra time, 24 hours in advance preferably, unless it's an emergency, and I'll work with your schedules. Zach, are you asking me if I'm located in Nova Scotia? Oh, you're asking Melissa.
No.
Oh, no.
I was asking her.
Oh, okay, no problem. I have to tell you a quick story. I do a lot of my videos in Skype, so I open up a closed session and do the video there and record it and then post it to the news feed. And one time I used a session that I didn't realize was open, and I'm in the middle of doing something and then I make a mistake, and I was tired and I cursed, and wouldn't you know it, right when I cursed, a student came into the session just out of the blue. And I'm like, oh my goodness, hello. Oops. Sorry about that. So yeah, so I know all about talking to myself. Okay, so I'm going to move on then. Oh, and I should say, if anybody has to leave this session, please feel free. This is an open session. I'm not holding anybody here hostage. It is being recorded. I know we're at 8:15 now. I'm planning to go to 8:30. So don't feel that you have to stay if you've got what you needed and you're ready to go.
Now, where can I go to listen to said recording? Because I joined in a little bit late.
Yeah, no problem. So after I'm done the session, I will go and process the recording. It takes about a half an hour to process, and then I post it as a YouTube video in the newsfeed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. So the next little piece of legalese is how to successfully achieve the credit in Math 1046. So first of all, this is part A of the two-part college academic mathematics credit. So it's a 14-week course, Math 1046, and then there's another part B, which is Math 1047. Another 14-week course. So most people will take Math 1046, and then after they've done Math 1046, the next semester they'll go into Math 1047, and then those two credits make up the academic college math course, which is a prerequisite to university science programs, and also a prerequisite to many NSCC programs such as power engineering, linemen electricians. I was just talking to a student the other day that needs it to be a lineman. Some of the technology courses need it as well. So you do need to have both 1046 and 1047. And the following criteria that I'm going to give you is for any School of Access course, whether you're in physics or chemistry, communications or biology, we all go by the following criteria, which is the following. You need to achieve or satisfy both of the following A and B criteria. The first one being that your overall grade is 60% or above. So what I posted in the last slide, which was how we evaluate you, like 5% for this assignment and 25% for pretest and 50%. Your overall grade for that has to be 60% or above. But you also have to have a grade of 60% or above on each individual test. What that means is that you can have an overall grade that's in the 70s, but if you fail one test, you will not achieve the credit. And this is true across all of the School of Access. Now, I will say that if you do fail a test, you're going to let me know right away, because there are makeups that we can do. So it could mean another attempt at a different test to show that you have completed your outcomes. It could be a makeup assignment, and we're looking at you, and we're going to look at your overall work in the course. It's up to the individual instructor as what they offer you. And we don't have to offer anything. I'm just going to put that there. So if I go in and I see that there has been no work and you failed the test, I might not offer a makeup, but that's worst case scenario. But in the end, if you cannot show that you have met the outcomes in a unit, regardless of how well you do in the other units, you will not achieve your credit. So I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that this, in the end, is what's going to come down to whether you pass a course or not. Let's go and see if there are any questions on that. Anyone have questions? Want to grab their mic or post in the chat? I love that there's like another line of chat going on. That's great.
Where is the chat? I can't seem to find it.
Oh no, that's if you go down to, there's a little chat bubble.
I'm on a tablet.
Oh, there should be, I'm going to go back a slide. I'll show you. Just a sec. Do you see, we're looking for this type of icon somewhere. No?
It's not here.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you.
I have a weird, I have an odd tablet that doesn't work with some programs.
What is
Right.
is there any icon to the far left of the application?
No, there is absolutely nothing.
You just have us, right? Just the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yes.
Just the PowerPoint.
Okay. I will let you know what the questions are in the chat. How about that?
Perfect. I'll try and bring it up on my phone.
No
I'm
problem.
getting my laptop back soon, so.
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else have any questions on that? It's a blanket thing that we do across the School of Access. It's very different than what, people are used to coming out of high school, where it's all about that overall grade, but we are outcome based at the college level, because the programs that you're going into want to know that you have trigonometry, that you have exponential and logarithmic functions. They want to know that you're coming in with the whole toolbox of math, and that's where that comes from. And this last little thing is just that. We are part A of a 2-part course. Sometimes students do Math 1046 and they're done, and they don't know to go on and do their Math 1047. So we want to make sure that everybody has that. Okay.
So if you get a grade lower than 60% on a test, what do you do after that?
Let me know.
Say that happens.
Yeah, let me know right away. Either through text or email, or give me a call, and then I'm going to look at how you're doing and how you did on the test. And then what usually will happen is that either you'll rewrite the test, or I'll give you a make-up assignment. So, and it all depends on how you did on the test and how you're doing overall in the course as well, on an individual basis.
Okay.
Okay. And you don't worry about that until the time comes. And then when the time comes, because I'll tell you that I have had a lot of students that have failed a test and still went on and did great in the course and passed. It's not the end if you fail. It just means that we have to pause for a moment and make sure that you have the outcomes before we move on. So nothing to be stressed about at this point. Well, if you guys are ready, I'm going to go into Unit 1, the number theory, but I'm going to take a moment. Does anybody have any other questions about the refresher unit? If you're good with the refresher unit, give me a smiley face or a thumb up if you're able to in the chat. If you have a question, just grab your mic or let me know in the chat function.
Okie dokie.
Awesome. Great. And if you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable in asking through Skype, then just text me or email me after the Skype session or after you watch the recording, for those of you that are watching this later, and let me know, and I'm happy to answer there. So let's look at the number theory unit, because that's what we're going to be starting on Monday. So this is the video that I would normally do for the number theory unit. So I'm just going to jump out of my PowerPoint, and I'm going to present my desktop. I already have the Math 1046 D2L page up, so just give me a second while I do that. So it's loading up now. And if you can let me know, those of you that are using your microphone, can you see the D2L page?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
I can.
Okay, some can. It takes a little while to buffer.
My screen just went black. I can see it now.
You can see it now?
Yeah, my screen just went to sleep mode.
Oh. Maybe if you click on it, it will come back.
Oh yeah, we're good now.
Okay, good. When I go to full presentation mode, I lose the chat function, so I can't see that. But I'll keep going back and forth just so that I make sure that I can see. Mackenzie, you've lost your comms. You can't hear me? See, it takes a little bit more bandwidth to use the desktop and the mic at the same time. I might have lost Mackenzie. Okay. But that's what the recording's for, thankfully. Okay. Let's go in here. So this is the course homepage for our math course. Now I'm in section, if I ever ask you for a section, this is what I mean, that 4-digit number at the end. I have 3 sections of math, so if I need to go in and find something for you, it's great if you can include the section number because then it's easier for me to find you. So I'm going to go into content. And instead of the 1-week refresher, I'm going to go into number theory. And this is the unit that we're going to be starting on Monday. And it's a little bit different from the 1-week refresher. We're going to leave the 1-week refresher, but all the other units from now on are going to take the same format as the number theory unit. So by the time you get to Unit 5, Systems of Equations, it will all be familiar to you. So each unit in D2L begins with the Unit 1 learning outcomes, so you can see exactly what you're going to be looking at for the unit. It also shows you your textbook section. So we're looking at section P.1 to P.4 in your math textbook. Now, some of you have ordered your math textbook and you don't have it yet. So for those of you that don't have a physical textbook, what you can do is the following. You can go to Resources under the Content tab, click on that, and Chapter P is here as a PDF form. So you can click on Chapter P and you've got everything from the textbook here. The other thing you can do is you can go back to Mymathlab, which I'm going to go back to right now. I'm going to open that up. So here's Mymathlab. I'm going to click on it. And the link that I suggest people go to is this Mymathlab with Pearson eText course home under student links, because that seems to be the full version of Mymathlab. Or I'm not sure if you have this little yellow button, but I just discovered it yesterday. If you click on that, that seems to open up the correct page as well, which has this, what I'm looking for is this left-hand menu right here, because that shows you your homework and your quizzes and tests. So if you don't have a textbook right now and you do the 14-day free trial, you'll have access to chapter contents, which is the e-text version of the textbook, and there's your chapter P that you can use. So if you don't have a physical textbook at the moment, you're waiting to get it, you can either use the e-text in Mymathlab, or you can use that PDF version that I showed you, which was under content, and then go down to Resources, Chapter P. So back to number theory.
Click on the,
oh, sorry. Yeah.
When you click on Pearson,
yes.
the little thumbnail it has of the textbook, is that what your textbook is supposed to look like?
That's the newest one, but if you have the one with the starfish on it, that's the previous edition.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, that works too. And Chapter P is the same, but your Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is backwards.
Okay.
Which means that when you go to polynomials and they say, oh, not polynomials, sorry, because that will be fine for you. I think it's equations and inequalities. Yes. So in Unit 3, it says to do chapter 1, 1.1, 1.3, 1.6, and then a part of chapter 3, 3.7. That's actually chapter 2 for you. So anyone that has the Starfish edition, just reverse chapter 1 and chapter 2 and you'll be fine. Sound good? Confusing, but okay?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
I think I have the newest textbook. Is the front picture of a guy sanding something?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the newest version.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And that one, the chapters, our chapters in D2L work with that. So you're okay. It's just anyone that has an older textbook with the Starfish on it, just know that chapter 1 and chapter 2 is reversed. Okay, so this section tells you how many sections you're doing. We're doing 4 sections in the textbook. It's due February the 2nd, so all of your homework, your pre-tests, and your tests are due by February the 2nd. And what I like to do is I open up my calendar. Oh, here we go. So the 15th is when we start. We have 1, 2, 3 weeks to complete. So that means you want to take at least 1.5 sections to complete each week. That's how I suggest that everybody spreads out their study in math. Take how many sections you're going to be responsible for, divide it by the weeks that you have to do it, and that will give you the pace in which you should be completing things. We're looking at between 6 and 10 hours a week of study, though I will say that some students use more time than that to practice. It's going to be up to how much you feel that you can give and how much you need in order to be successful. Do not leave this until the last week, because with math it's very much like baking bread. You've got to knead the dough, which is you've got to practice this stuff, and then you got to let it rest, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to retain the information and start making the connections that you need to understand the math. If you don't let this stuff rest or take a break, it's not going to stick, and when you go to do an evaluation, it's like you never did it. So even if you take 20 hours the day before and binge study, you're only going to be able to retain 5% of that. Whereas if you take those 20 hours and you spread them out over 2 weeks, you're going to be able to retain 85 to 90% of it. This is stuff that they've studied and researched. Math definitely needs to sit so that your brain can kind of do stuff subconsciously and then go back. So best to take your sections and spread them out over the 3 or 4 weeks, and do a little bit each day is the best recommendation that I can give for that. So that's how the unit starts off. Every unit gives you your learning outcomes and the textbook sections. There's a study guide. When you click on that, it's going to just tell you exactly what to expect in the unit. This first one's a little bit long because it's the start one, but it tells you what your textbook study is. It tells you about the Unit 1 resources and where to find those, talks about Mymathlab assignments, and at the very bottom, it tells you what you need to submit and whether you're looking at a proctored test or not. And Unit 1 does have a proctored test. So on Monday, I'm going to let you know that information again that we already talked about how to set up your proctoring appointments, your external proctor, but there will be a proctored test for this first unit test. So you'll find all of that in the study guide, which is the first link in the unit. That one there. My suggestion is that everyone starts off in the textbook in section P.1 and you work through the textbook first, and then there are checkpoint questions. Every section ends with some exercises. Start with the textbook first, and when you feel that you've done that, then move on to Mymathlab. And you can either click on Mymathlab here, that will get you to it, or you can go back to your course homepage and go from there. Now, there we go. Right now, do I have The refresher unit is up. I haven't released Unit 1 yet. No, it's not up yet. But come Monday, Unit 1 homework from Mymathlab will be up in Mymathlab. Actually, I'll probably open it up tomorrow so that if anybody wants to get a head start on it, they can. But there is one Mymathlab homework assignment per section. So for P.1 to P.4, there should be 4 different homeworks to do that take about an hour each to complete. And in that, you can use the question help tool as much as you want, either to ask me a question, to show an example of how to do the question. There's even a button that tells you that you can tell the system to walk you through the problem. So lots of extra tools there. And also within the unit, you have these resources. So for every section that you are working on, there are resources. So I'm just going to click on P.1 here in D2L. And you can see that the outcomes are listed. So let's say you're working on evaluating an algebraic expression. When you click on that, there are videos that you can watch to show you how to do that. And sometimes there will be worksheets as well with an answer key. Most have videos, or actually all should have videos. Some have worksheets, but that's the extra resources that you can also go to if you need to, if you'd like to have a little bit more information on that concept. There are videos available in Mymathlab as well, and then you can also search YouTube and Khan Academy. So lots of different places to go for help if you need it. And I'll also be posting lecture notes of my own that I'm going to put up as videos in the news feed as well. So you're a little bit more, there's a little bit more structure than the refresher unit because you have to do the Mymathlab homework and the mark gets transferred over to D2L. There are videos that you can look at for each of the section, and when you're ready, you can write the first pre-test in Mymathlab, and that will give you an idea of what pieces you need to brush up on before writing the test. And
before writing the test, like in the campus?
No, yes, before writing the test on campus, which is in Mymathlab.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And every unit has a test on that section. There is no final examination, so you're not going to have to do a test that is on the whole body of the 14-week work. Once you do a unit test and you pass it and you move on to Unit 2, that's the end of Unit 1. You don't see it again.
Oh, you don't know how happy that makes me.
I know, it makes me happy too. So you can say goodbye to that unit, and then it's like starting fresh, and you start the second unit, and you don't have to worry about going back. So that's good news. Don't forget the sticky question assignment. The instructions are here. You're going to submit this assignment. You're going to post it as a discussion post. Oh, and here's a reflection assignment. I thought it was going to be Unit 2, but I do have one in Unit 1, and this is also posed as a discussion question as well, and that's worth 5. All the reflections together are for 5%. And then every unit has a gut questions. I like to separate the Q&A, so there's one per unit, just so that we're all on the same page. And feel free to post your questions here if you'd like. It's a great place because then your classmates will see what questions are there too. So that is Unit 1 coming up. Lots to do there. I'm going to go back into Skype so that I can see the chat function. Lots of emotions going on there. Anybody have questions now? I'm going to bring back up the slideshow. Oh, if I can get to that. There we go. There we go, back to there. So, anybody have questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we get stuck on something in one of the units, Are we able to schedule a Skype session where you could go over some of the things that we're stuck on? Maybe
Oh,
a
yes.
private Skype session, or if we post in the discussion chat, maybe multiple people want to join in?
Exactly. Yes. No problem at all. It can be on an individual basis. Just let me know in an email, and we'll set up a time together that works for both of us. And then if it looks like there are, if you find that you have classmates in the Q&A and you guys are all having the same questions and you want to come in as a group, again, just email me and let me know, and we'll find a time that works.
Cool.
No problem at all. And if I do videos for students that have asked me questions, sometimes I post them in the news feed, just because I do find that if one person has the question, there's probably 20 other people that have the same question as well. So I'll be sharing those videos that I make in the news feed as well, if they come to me by email and they're not posted in the Q&A. And also because we have 3 sections going on at the same time and we can't see each other's Q&As, I'll try and just keep everybody in the loop through the news feeds. You'll see as we go that there is going to be a branching, that as everybody finds their own rhythm, people are going to be working at different times and at different speeds, and we kind of branch off. But those reflection discussions are a great place to come together and give each other pats on the back and say it's okay, it's going to be okay. And the discussion assignments bring us back. Definitely use the Q&As as often as you can, because that brings us back together as a class as well. And so far, everybody's been great to keep in contact with me through text and email and phone. So keep on doing that as well. If you're feeling lonely and isolated and you haven't reached out yet, please do so. Talk to me through email or text or phone. Reach out in the Q&A section. Just say hi. How's everybody doing? I'm stuck here or whatever. Just if you reach out, you'll feel more connected, which is important in online for sure. Well, I'm past my time. It's 8:45. I'm going to say thank you, everyone who came out tonight. You've had great questions. I hope I've covered them. If I haven't, or you think of another question, just reach out, let me know in email. That goes to everybody who's watching from home too. Thank you for tuning in and watching the video. Any last questions or comments before we call it a night?
I have a more personal question that I guess I can ask here.
Sure.
What is everyone's general age? I know it's not related at all, but we're at the end of the session. I'm just wondering, what everyone's age is. Am I an old guy? Am I a young guy in the class?
I can tell you that you're going to have people in here who are 17 years old, and then you're going to have people in here that are, 50, 60 years old. There's going to be all ages. You name it.
I'm 21.
I'm 19.
So we have a 19-year-old, a 31, we have a 20-something. What was your
28.
age?
19.
25.
All right, I'm
21.
22, so
Emily's
there's
23.
21 guys, so close to my age.
Sweet.
26.
Honestly, I felt like I would have been the youngest as well.
Wait,
So
how old are you? How old is the person who's speaking?
me?
Yeah.
21.
I only have voices to go on of who's who at the moment, so kind of hard to differentiate.
I think Zach's the eldest so far. Well, I'm the oldest. I'm 45.
Just a little bit.
But there are other, just for anybody that's watching, there are people in their 30s and people in their 40s, people in their 50s. So there's somebody for everybody.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, anybody else? Okay, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to turn off the record function. If anybody has any questions that they would rather ask without the record function on, please stay behind and ask. And otherwise, if you, it's time to go. So if you want to get out, just go up and press the X button top right of your screen. And I wish everyone a good night. I'm going to go and turn off the record function.